Arian Malik was a man the world admired, a billionaire whose name echoed in boardrooms, magazines, and every corner of the business world. Success followed him like a shadow. Every deal he touched turned into gold. His life was packed with luxury, glass mansions overlooking the city, private jets waiting at his command, nights filled with bright lights and louder conversations, and days overflowing with meetings that never seemed to end. But beneath all the noise, a quiet emptiness lived inside him. Arian wasn't known for kindness. Power, yes. Wealth, definitely. Influence, without question. But kindness? That word never seemed to fit beside his name. He believed money could fix everything: problems, relationships, emotions. If something broke, he simply paid for a new one. If someone complained, he sent a gift. If anyone needed him, he transferred the amount and considered the matter closed. This belief was strongest within his own family. His mother lived quietly in their old house, still waiting for the son who promised to visit soon. His young daughter, Alina, barely 6 years old, knew her father more through photographs on the wall than through real conversations. She would proudly tell everyone, "My daddy is very busy making the world rich." Even though she barely understood what that meant, Arian told himself they were fine. He sent money every month, bought gifts, arranged caretakers, and convinced himself that this was enough. He didn't notice the loneliness in his mother's voice during rushed phone calls, nor the soft sadness in Alina's drawings, where she always drew herself holding the hand of a father who was never actually there. Months had passed since he last visited them, but in his mind, everything was perfectly under control to the world. Arian Malik was not just a billionaire, he was the perfect example of a family man. In interviews, he spoke lovingly about his mother, quoting her advice as if he still lived by it. On magazine covers, he posed with carefully selected photos of his daughter Alina. During public speeches, he often said, "Everything I do is for my family." People admired him for it. They believed he was not only powerful, but also grounded, a success story with a heart, a man who remembered where he came from. But behind the spotlight, behind the expensive suits and crafted speeches, the truth was far less beautiful. Arian hadn't called his mother in weeks, sometimes months. The last time he spoke to his daughter was a rushed video call that lasted less than 2 minutes. He ended it with, "Daddy will visit soon," a promise he had repeated so many times that even Alina no longer believed it. Still, he told himself they were fine. He had left them in his old family house, paid off all bills, and arranged a generous monthly allowance. In his mind, comfort equaled love. Money equaled presence. He didn't notice that he no longer remembered the color of the curtains in the living room, or the way Alina's laughter sounded. He didn't question why his mother no longer asked when he would visit. He assumed silence meant peace. And so, he trusted his system, especially his manager, Mr. Karim, the man responsible for sending the monthly support to his family. But that was where the cracks began to form. Arian's mother and daughter had seen none of the money. Mr. Karim had been quietly siphoning it away, stealing bit by bit, confident that Arian would never check. After all, why would a billionaire pay attention to a few missing transfers? While Arian lived in luxury, believing his family wanted for nothing, the truth was darker. His mother struggled to pay for medicine. Alina's school fees were long overdue. The house was falling apart. Morning sunlight spilled through the glass. Walls of Arian Malik's penthouse, warming the marble floors and the perfectly arranged furniture that no one really used. His alarm chimed at 5:30 a.m., the beginning of another powerful day. He sat up, stretched, and immediately checked his calendar. A billion-dollar merger meeting at 9, a live interview at noon, a charity gala in the evening where he'd give a speech about supporting families in need. The irony didn't bother him. In fact, it made him feel accomplished. He moved through his morning routine like a machine, personal chef preparing breakfast, driver waiting outside, assistant listing tasks. Everything was organized, luxurious, and loud. And yet, somewhere beneath the noise, a small voice whispered, "Call your mother." It came softly, sudden, and uninvited. He paused for half a second, spoon in hand. His mother's face flickered in his memory, her gentle eyes, her tired hands. He hadn't spoken to her in how long? He couldn't remember. He shook the thought away. "She's fine," he told himself. "They have everything they need." His assistant entered with a tablet. "Interrupting the moment, sir. One more thing. Alina's school sent an email." Aryan barely looked up. What about it? She missed school again. He frowned, confused but not alarmed. Again, why? I'm not sure, sir. Should I reply to them? He waved his hand dismissively. They're probably traveling. Or maybe she's sick. I'll check later. But later never came. The thought of calling his family drifted away as he stepped into his limousine, mentally preparing for his big meeting. His day continued as planned: handshakes, applause, cameras, strategy sessions. He gave rehearsed smiles, talked about success, and posed as the man who had everything under control. To everyone watching, Aryan Malik looked unstoppable, powerful, and perfectly put together. But this day, the day that started so normally, was the day everything began to unravel. Aryan was in the middle of reviewing numbers for his upcoming merger when his phone buzzed with an unknown international number. He almost ignored it. He hated interruptions, but something made him answer anyway. "Who is this?" he asked sharply. A calm male voice replied, "Mr. Aryan Malik, you need to see what's happening in your own family." Aryan's eyes narrowed. "Is this some kind of scam? If you want money, talk to my legal team." "This isn't about money," the man said. His tone wasn't threatening, just steady. "It's about truth, a truth you've ignored for too long." Aryan's irritation flared. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but I'm not interested." Before he could hang up, the line glitched, a clicking sound, static. Then accidentally, or intentionally, a live video feed opened at first. Aryan thought it was spam. The camera shook, blurry and unstable. But the scene slowly came into focus. A cramped, dusty street in a run-down neighborhood, children with torn clothes, picking through piles of trash, a stray dog barking in the background, rusty tin roofs, broken windows, dirt everywhere. Aryan frowned. "What is this supposed to be?" The man didn't answer. The camera moved again, this time zooming toward a group of children digging through garbage bags behind a local shop. A thin, fragile older woman bent down to help them, her hands trembling as she lifted a heavy trash bag for a little girl who looked barely 8. The woman's scarf slipped slightly, revealing a streak of silver hair. Her posture, her face, something painfully familiar. And the girl's quiet, searching through the trash as if she had done it many times before, a faded school uniform that looked 2 sizes too big. Aryan stopped breathing for a moment. His heart hammered against his chest. He leaned forward, staring at the screen as if trying to break through it. The video quality was poor, pixelated, but there was something unmistakable in the way the older woman gently placed her hand on the girl's head. The voice returned, softer this time. "Look closely, Mr. Malik." Aryan swallowed hard. This can't be them. The camera shook again, and the video, abruptly, ended, freezing on a blurry frame of the 2 figures. Aryan stared at the blank screen, his pulse racing. He tried calling the number back, no answer. He replayed the frozen frame again and again, each time feeling a deeper fear claw at his chest. Aryan barely slept after the disturbing video. His mind kept replaying the blurry faces, the fragile hands, the small figure digging through trash. He told himself it wasn't them, couldn't be them. He sent messages to his manager, checked bank transfers. Everything looked fine, yet his chest felt tight with a fear he couldn't shake. The next afternoon, as he sat in his office, pretending to focus on a corporate meeting, his phone rang again, the same unknown number. His hand trembled as he answered. The stranger's voice returned, steady, gentle, but urgent. "Mr. Malik, we need to talk." Aryan swallowed hard. "Who are you? Why are you showing me this?" "My name is Kola," the man replied. "I run a small canteen near that garbage area. I've seen the old woman and the little girl for weeks now." Aryan felt his throat tighten. "Why call me?" Kola hesitated before speaking. "Because they look like your mother and your daughter." Aryan's breath caught. "No, that's impossible. They live comfortably. They have everything they need." "I don't think so," Kola said quietly. "I've seen them come to the garbage site almost every other day. The little girl barely eats unless someone hands her leftovers. The old woman, she looks ill, but she still tries to take care of her." Aryan's voice cracked. "Why didn't you go to the police? Or social services?" Kola spoke slowly, choosing each word with care. "Because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to accuse anyone without proof. But today, I heard something. Ariane felt cold all over. What? What did you hear? Kola took a breath. The girl told the woman, Baba will come one day. She said it with so much hope. Like she believes her father is going to rescue her. Ariane's world stopped. Something inside him broke. Silence filled the room. A sound escaped his throat, half shock, half grief. His hands shook so badly he dropped his pen. For the first time in years, he felt like someone had ripped open the armor he built around himself. He whispered, barely audible, that's my daughter's voice. She used to say that to me. Kola spoke softly. Mr. Malik, I don't know what happened, but they need you badly. Ayin didn't wait for another word. He shot up from his chair, ignoring the startled faces of his board members. Cancel everything, he said, voice trembling. All meetings, all interviews, everything. He didn't explain. He didn't care. He grabbed his keys, ran through the lobby, and sped out of the building with a fear he had never felt before. Fear for the people he had taken for granted. The people he had abandoned behind money and fame. Ariane drove faster than he ever had in his life. The luxury car felt out of place as it entered the poorer districta, part of the city he had never stepped into. His eyes widened at the sight of dusty roads, broken huts patched with old metal sheets, and barefoot children running around piles of garbage. The air felt heavier here, thick with smoke, hunger, and forgotten lives. He slowed down, breath shaky, heart pounding like a drum inside his ribs. They can't be here, not my mother, not my daughter, but deep inside. Something told him the truth was waiting for him in these streets. He parked and stepped out. His expensive shoes sank into the dirt. People stared quietly, some with curiosity, some with suspicion. Ariane ignored them and walked further in, scanning the area, searching for the faces he feared to find. Then he saw them, two small figures beside a rusted trash container, one bending, the other trying to balance a tin bowl. His steps faltered, his heartbeat froze. The older woman, her back hunched. Her scarf faded, her hands trembling as she dug through a garbage bag. Beside her, a little girl, thin, dusty-faced, her dress torn, her hair tied with a piece of string, holding out a piece of bread she found, smiling weakly as if trying to comfort the old. Woman, his mother, his daughter, the world blurred around. Him, he couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't think. He took a shaky step forward. Then, another, and another. The closer he got, the more unbearable it became. Every detail was a stab to the heart. His mother's weak hands struggling to lift a container. Alina wiping sweat off her grandmother's forehead, their empty plastic bag barely holding scraps of food. Their thin faces, tired from hunger, their clothes, torn and stained with dust. This wasn't a bad dream. This was their reality, and he had caused it. Without even knowing, his voice cracked as he whispered, barely able to speak. Amy, Alina. They froze. Slowly, both turned toward him. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. His mother's eyes widened shock, disbelief, then unbearable pain. Tears gathered instantly, trembling on her eyelashes. Alina stared at him, confused at first, then her eyes lit up with heartbreaking hope. Baba? She whispered. Ariane's knees buckled. He fell to the ground in front of them, the weight of guilt crashing over him like a wave he couldn't escape. Tears streamed down his face stairs he hadn't shed since he was a child. He reached out, hands trembling. Emmy, what happened? Why? Why didn't you tell me? His mother didn't answer. She was crying too hard. Alina ran to him, throwing her tiny arms around his neck. Baba, I knew you would come. I told Dottie. I told her you'd come. Her words didn't comfort him. They crushed him. He held her tightly, sobbing into her dusty hair. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know. His mother knelt slowly beside him. When he looked into her eyes that once carried pride, he saw only sorrow and forgiveness fighting inside them. Ariane held both of them tightly, but his mother gently pulled back, wiping her tears with the edge of her worn scarf. She looked older than he remembered, tired, thinner, and carrying a pain he could not begin to measure. He whispered, Amy, please tell me everything. Her lips trembled before she spoke. We were forced to leave the house months ago. His heart stopped. What? Why? The bill's my manager, he was supposed to. She shook her head slowly. For months, no money came. The house bills piled up. I went to the office, asked the bank, but every door closed on us. We had no choice. They came with police and said we must leave. Aryan felt the ground tilt beneath him. Why didn't you call me? His mother looked at him with eyes full of both love and quiet hurt. We tried, Beta. Many times. Your number changed. Your assistant said you were too busy. When we asked for you, they laughed and said, Sir, doesn't deal with personal calls. Aryan's breath caught in his throat. He remembered telling his staff to filter unnecessary calls. He never imagined his own mother and daughter would be considered unnecessary. His mother continued, her voice shaking. I started cleaning floors in small shops, just to buy food, but my back got worse. Then we began coming here, searching the trash for anything edible. Aryan covered his mouth, tears spilling uncontrollably. You were living like this? While I was, he couldn't finish. Alina gently touched his cheek, her tiny hands smudged with dirt. We waited for you, Baba, she said softly, every day. I kept telling Dottie, he will come, he promised. Her innocent words struck him harder than anything else. His chest tightened as guilt wrapped. Around him like chains, his mother's voice grew softer. Aryan, I didn't tell you so you could feel shame. I only prayed you would remember us. But your world, it became too big, and we became too small inside it. Aryan collapsed into himself, sobbing, his billions, his fame, his power, none of it mattered now. Aryan stormed into his corporate headquarters like a wave of fire. Employees stepped aside, startled by the cold fury in his eyes. He wasn't the calm, polished billionaire they were familiar with. He was a father and a son whose world had just been shattered. He pushed open the glass door to his manager's office. The manager looked up lazily. Sir, you're back early. Aryan slammed the documents onto the table. Explain this. The manager glanced at the paper's bank statements, forged signatures. Stolen transfers, circed. So you finally looked. I thought you were too busy to care. Aryan's fists clenched. You stole millions, he growled. Money meant for my mother. For my family, the manager leaned back, arrogance dripping from every word. Of course I did. You never checked a thing. You trusted me blindly. Powerful men like you never notice what's missing, especially when you're too occupied with your big empire. Aryan felt the room spin with rage. Employees gathered at the doorway, watching as the truth spilled out raw, ugly, unforgivable. The manager continued. Unbothered, I figured you wouldn't even feel the loss. What's a few million to a man like you? Aryan's voice dropped, cold as ice. It was everything to my mother and daughter. Security entered on Aryan's signal. You're fired, Aryan declared, loud enough for every witness to hear, and you're going to pay for every life you damaged. The manager's smirk finally vanished as security seized. Aryan didn't look Owainit this time. He watched as the man was escorted out, handcuffed, furious, defeated. Justice had been served, but as the office fell into a tense silence, a heavy truth settled onto Aryan's shoulders. He had punished the thief, but nothing could undo the nights his mother and daughter spent hungry. Nothing could erase the humiliation they endured. On those filthy streets, nothing could give back the time he lost the calls. He ignored the moments he chose. Work over family. Aryan returned to his mansion, but this time it felt different. It wasn't just walls and luxury, it was a place of responsibility, love, and second chances. His mother, frail yet proud, and little Alina, timid but trusting, stepped inside, their eyes wide with wonder at the familiar comforts they had been denied. No more distant visits, no more envelopes of money sent through intermediaries. Aryan made a promise silently to himself. They would never go hungry or feel abandoned again. The first days were awkward. His mother hesitated to accept help, brushing off offers to rest while he cooked simple meals. Aryan, who had spent decades in boardrooms and meetings, now learned to cook porridge, boil vegetables, and even make Alina's favorite fried plantains. He laughed at his clumsy attempts, but the joy on their faces made every mistake worth it. Evenings became sacred. The three of them would sit together, sharing stories, laughter, and long walks through quiet streets. Aryan held his daughter's hand, listening to her dreams and fears, watching her confidence grow. With his mother, he revisited old family albums, learning stories of resilience and sacrifice he had once ignored. Business trips were cut, boardroom meetings rearranged. He realized that time with his family was far more valuable than any billion-dollar deal. The office staff noticed the change. The once aloof billionaire had become a present, attentive man, but one who led with empathy rather than his heart ached for the families he had glimpsed during that shocking video, the old woman scavenging through garbage, the children with empty stomachs and tired eyes. He poured resources into humanitarian work, funding, feeding programs, building shelters, and supporting education for the children of poor neighborhoods. He launched No Family Left Hungry, a nationwide initiative aimed at ensuring that no parent or child would experience the desperation his own family had faced. The campaign quickly grew, inspiring other wealthy citizens and corporations to participate. Communities organized, volunteers joined, and media coverage amplified the message. Despite all the attention and accolades, Arian remained grounded. The real reward wasn't fame or recognition, it was the smile on his daughter's face when she ate without worry, the comfort in his mother's eyes as she rested, and the hope he restored in families across the country. Each day, he walked with Alina to school, cooked dinner with his mother, and visited feeding centers. What had once been a life of luxury and isolation had transformed into one of love, presence, and purpose. Arian realized finally what wealth truly meant: not the millions in the bank, but the lives touched, the hearts healed, and the family reclaimed. News of Arian Malik's shocking family ordeal spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's family lived in poverty while he lived in luxury, and from ignorance to redemption. Arian Malik's transformation." Social media exploded with opinions, some condemning him for neglect, others praising the courage it took to face the truth and change. Interviewers crowded his office, cameras rolling, microphones thrust forward. Arian spoke calmly, honestly, without pretense. He described the moment he saw his mother and daughter scavenging through garbage, the gut-wrenching realization that his wealth meant nothing if those he loved suffered. "I built walls of luxury around myself," he said, voice steady but soft, "but my family was left outside." Money doesn't make you rich. Family does. Reporters asked about his humanitarian projects, and he humbly credited the families and communities who inspired him. "I don't want to be remembered for wealth," he said. "I want to be remembered for responsibility, for empathy, for the lives we help rebuild together." Yet, Arian didn't flaunt the attention. He remained focused on rebuilding trust and love within his own family. Teaching Alina compassion and ensuring his mother felt valued every single day, his transformation became a lesson. Wealth is meaningless without conscience, status is hollow without humanity, and real legacy is built in the hearts we touch. Arian takes his mother and daughter back to the dusty alley where he first saw them, the place that had haunted his dreams ever since. The broken huts, the scattered trash, the faint echo of their struggle, it all felt unbearably real again. He kneels beside his mother, voice trembling yet firm. "You will never suffer again. I will never forget you again." Alina clings to his hand, eyes wide, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time, fear and uncertainty give way to trust. The little girl who had waited so long for her, father's presence now feels it fully. His mother rests her hands on his shoulders, eyes glistening, and whispers, "Now I recognize my son." The three of them embrace, a long, unbroken hug that speaks louder than words ever could. It's a moment of pure reconciliation, grief transformed into relief, pain softened by love, and the silent bond of family finally restored. Arian looks around at the alley one last time, the memory of despair still vivid, but now overshadowed by hope. He silently vows to honor this second chance to protect, nurture, and cherish the lives that depend on him. For the first time in years, he feels whole. The weight of guilt lifts slightly, replaced by responsibility and an unwavering determination to make amends not just through wealth, but through presence, care, and unwavering love. This place, once a symbol of shame, becomes a reminder of his awakening. He knows that rebuilding his family is just the beginning. From here, he will carry the lesson everywhere, that true wealth is measured not by money, but by the lives we touch and the love we never take for granted.